All right, impact of English colonization on the Aboriginals. Standard explain how the impact of English colonization on current Aboriginal basic rights, health, literacy, and language. All right, how did English colonization impact Aboriginal basic rights, health, literacy, and language? Aborigines were the native or indigenous or first known inhabitants of Australia. The Aborigines were nomadic hunters and gatherers. They used boomerangs and spears for hunting. They engaged in extensive intergroup trade throughout the continent. There's some examples of spears and boomerangs that they used. Aborigines were divided into many groups or tribes and spoke many languages. Estimates are 500 to 600 distinct groups speaking about 200 different languages. Because of Australia's remote location, the Aborigines were untouched by outside influences for an extensive period of time. Aboriginal Australians maintain spiritual beliefs that are closely associated with nature and oral tradition. Spiritual beliefs are based on dream time or the time long ago when they believe all things were created. Dreamtime stories explain how animals, plants, water holes, etc. were shaped by spirit beings. Aborigines feel a very strong connection to the land and believe they are its caretakers. Many sites are sacred, such as Ural Areas Rock. Australians has thousands of sites where rocks have been painted or engraved with human and animal shapes. Aborigines believe these paintings were done in dream time. Here's some examples of the Aboriginal art. Aboriginal rock art is part of a tradition of painting and engraving. Many elders believe that they were created by spirits to keep records of their history. European contact with Australia. The first European contact with Australia began in 1606, but it was not until 1770 that Captain James Cook of England claimed the continent for the British Crown. Superior weaponry and the unintentional transmission of the smallpox to the continent rendered Aboriginal resistance to European settlement all but moot. Impact on rights. Many Aborigines were forced off their land and some were killed. Surviving Aborigines were discriminated against and had few rights. Politically, although they are protected under Australian Constitution, Aboriginal people were not granted extensive voting rights until 1965 and were not even counted as part of the national census until 1967. Impact on health. Europeans brought devastating diseases such as smallpox with them. Since the Aborigines had no immunities to these new diseases, large numbers of them died. Conquest of the indigenous people became easier because of the weakened, smaller population. Impact on health and literacy. Health concerns persist among Australia's Aboriginal people as well. Aboriginal life expectancy is on average 10 years lower than for non-Aborigines. Infant mortality rates among Aboriginal women are twice that of non-Aborigines. In terms of education, Aboriginal school attendance and overall literacy rates, especially in Australia's more remote areas, remain very poor. Impact on language and religion. European colonization impacted Australia's language because even today, the majority of Australians speak English. European colonization impacted Australia's religion because a large majority of Australians practice some form of Christianity like the Europeans.